just somehow the landscape there and the diaries I was keeping the year we were living there, this poem came up, and I didn't learn much Nihongo, but I picked up a couple poetic phrases.
Uh-huh. So, well, let's do another one then. I think that's very interesting. So you were in Japan, but your ancestry is not Japanese, it's Burmese, right?
Burmese, yes. My parents came from
Okay.
Burma.
Is there any sense of loss around that, about being cut off from your background or your tradition, or do you think
Well,
that's...
I have been to Burma 3 times, and I have family there. I have many aunts and uncles and some cousins, and yeah, sometimes when I haven't been there in a while, but the last time I was in Burma, I had this feeling of this sense of kind of longing and just wondering what it would have been like if my parents had decided to stay there, but they decided to move to the U.S.
I think parents or poets are always thinking about alternative identities and alternative lives that could have happened. It's kind of part of the melancholy sometimes of a lot of poetry. Well, let's try another one then. What do you got for us next?
So this poem is called Sparrow. There is a myth that should the red-throated sparrow land at your bare feet, while the sound of 1,000 crickets fills the air, a blue-eyed mongrel will come down from the hills and eat all the baby boys. So look into my yellow eyes with love.
Wow, that's vaguely threatening. So who is saying that? Who is the speaker?
I have to say this poem, sorry, I'm kind of going off topic, but this poem was actually an exercise for myself. I often write poems, about animals. Use a lot of animal imagery, but I wanted to write an animal poem, but I wanted to use colors, and so I just said, okay, I'm going to write a poem with red, yellow, blue, and and then of course, I read a lot of mythology, so this.
Yeah, because you used the primary colors there, but it was very mythological. It was not a child's poem.
Not meant for children.
No. But that's one of the pleasures of poetry, I think, to be able to go into depth with so few words, to really be able to bring up images that have such deep roots. All right, so let's proceed to another one since our time is limited here.
Okay.
So the next one is...
So this is called Revolution, and this is from a very old poem, and it's from a chapbook which was published in 1991 called Tales of a Lonely Meat Eater.
Okay.
I'm a vegetarian now, but back then I was a big meat eater. Okay. Revolution. At the click of the lock, we knew we were all alone. The French doll, the Indian doll, the jumping jack, and the Dutch doll who says mama. With little mistress asleep in her bed, the room began to buzz with our dolly energy. I hollered out of my ragamuffin mouth, "Revolution! Unite against oppressors!" The Indian doll stood up. We are all citizens of the world. Secretly I knew, in my grandma-made heart, that our nightly protests and gatherings would someday crush little mistress. After all, it was she who rescued me from the roach-infested pit called Grandma's attic, sewed me a left-button eye, and fed me make-believe food to renew my strength. But the Indian doll pointed out that mistress was playing the French doll against the jumping jack, hoarding the frosted tea cakes all for herself, increasing the number of toy soldiers daily, and was, overall, a 7-year-old dictator.
Wow. So that is sort of a bridge poem. It's a little bit about childhood, but it's also, again, with a perspective that is not a child's perspective. Did you see any of the Toy Story movies? Did you feel any connection in the sort of impulse?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. Yeah, I saw one on a plane, and I didn't make that connection, but now I can.
It seems
see
like there's the same sort of mythology
Right.
there underlying everything. So then the next one I think is about a relationship of some kind. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I'm a teacher, and this poem is called Contract, and I had a rather difficult student, and this poem came from that
Experience,
yes.
Okay.
The Contract. I am a teacher. He is a student. We study the rules of grammar. They are civil engineers. A woman named Pearl sits outside the room. I write on the whiteboard, sentences in active and passive. Either an indirect object or a direct object may become the subject of a passive sentence. He walks in late. He wears a parka. He is young. He avoids my eyes. The students look down. We assume there are rules that both parties must follow, a written or unwritten contract. He is anger and rage. We can hear Pearl at her keyboard, a 9-to-5 contract, 2 weeks off the first year, 3 the third. A health insurance plan through Kaiser, a high deductible. We are nerves and muscles and vessels of blood. We are socially acceptable behaviors. We are black blazers from Ross with lint on them and failed attempts at connection. 2 human beings. Phrases and clauses and summary notes of longing and loss. Memos to parents who are aging. An email to the daughter lost and wandering through Georgia. A fax to the neighbor who undresses in front of the window. We signed contracts. There are expectations. In the passive, the object of an active verb becomes the subject of the passive verb. He brings his fist to the table. She is passive. She has forgotten the contract. He has not read the rules. She picks up the company phone. He storms out of the room.
That was really very powerful. I really like the layers of consciousness that you managed to weave into that, just through the words. So it was kind of an intense experience.
Yes.
It sounds like. Well, we have only a minute left. We have a
Okay.
couple of poems, and I was hoping to get through more, but
Gosh.
here we are. We're running
Okay,
out of
wow,
time.
that was fast.
What if people want to see more of you? Is there? Should they go down to the Headland Center, or are you published in other places? Or
Yeah, well, I guess you could just Google my name, and I have some work online. I don't have a website. I should have one, but I will eventually.
And the Broadside project, that will be completed when, do you think?
That's slated for 2011, so that's
Something for people to look
yes.
forward to. Okay. Well, we wish you luck in all your creative endeavors.
Thank you very
You've
much, Peter.
produced so much wonderful stuff here. I hope we'll be able to have you come back in a couple of years, if I'm still doing the show, and show us some of your most recent work. But I really appreciate the sort of combination of things that you're able to do visually and
Great.
with words. So that's the end of our show for tonight. Again, I'm Peter Camarda, and the show is A View for You. We're broadcasting on the Public Access Channel, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.